peoples? This is your cosmic homegirl, and I am back with another video just analyzing some celebrity stuff in astrology to show you guys how astrology works, to show you how horoscopes work, to show you how birth charts work, and all of that. So if you didn't already check out the video I put out a week or a couple weeks ago on the August Alsina, Jada Pinkett Smith, and Will Smith fiasco, then go ahead and check that out here on my channel. I already did a video on this. I'm doing another one because I'm just trying to show you guys more the horoscope side of things. The first video I showed you guys the synastry side. Now, synastry is what we call like the study of compatibility between people in astrology. So it's basically the compatibility between each person, between August and Jada and Will mostly. And this time I'm showing you guys some horoscope stuff to show you why particular things are going on. Why are we seeing them everywhere? And I know some people are like so annoyed. Why are we hearing about this? Why should we care? Yada, yada, yada. Well, you know, I'm covering this because number one, I'm an August fan, okay? And I like him and his personality, his energy just really vibe with me, you know? So it's like when he talks about his pain, I feel his pain, okay? And not every celebrity or story that I cover on my channel I have some sort of like connection to. Some of it could be for various reasons. I'm not super consistent, I will admit to that, okay? But also because I love studying relationship astrology, and I also like looking at horoscopes, like meaning, okay, if you're tuning into this and you don't know what the hell a horoscope is, it is not the stupid bullshit on the back of a newspaper or magazine, or actually these days people don't even read newspaper and magazine. There's some articles you can find online that are probably bullshit. However, nowadays they do have real genuine astrologers putting out articles, putting out stuff on all social media networks. So there's less bullshit out there than there was back in the day, but at the same time we have exposure to more bullshit at the same time. Okay, so a horoscope is not just someone telling you your fortune and your lucky numbers, you know, and they all have to be dressed like a gypsy, or, you know, no disrespect to people that do, but that's not all what a horoscope is. It's watching time. It's looking at a clock and a calendar that is based on planetary movement, what we nerds in astrology call an ephemeris. So this is an ephemeris. It's got the date, the Gregorian calendar date and year, and you know the days and everything, but we look at where the planets were aligned on those particular days. That is what a horoscope is, watching time via the planets, okay? And how it affects people here on Earth, we see that by looking at this in general, the general vibe or the energy of where the planets are at, what it's bestowing upon us as a collective, how it may affect us, but also individually comparing that to where the planets were when you were born, the date, but preferably the date and the time exactly of when you were born. We look in comparison of that, the planetary alignment, your birth date and birth time, to the planetary alignment now, or if we want to go back in time to any dates or ahead in the future. Okay, so that's what a horoscope really is. That's how we look at predictions, and that's how we look at when we go back in time, you know, and see, oh wow, well during this period this was going on and I felt this way, or I had this big life change. So we go back and see what was going on during that time in the sky, you know, with the planets. So anyway, now that I got past that, I want to show you guys some horoscope stuff using the case of August Alsina, Jada Pinkett Smith, and Will Smith. So if you have been in a hermit hole or a cave for a little while, or you just block out the bullshit in the news, okay, let's just keep it real, then maybe you haven't heard, you don't know who these people are. I'm not going to give a whole big old briefing on who they are. I do have a video, like I said, that I already put out about them. This is a follow-up, kind of, sort of. August Alsina is a lovely singer, very good looking man, if I may add. But also, and he's a singer from Louisiana. And then Jada Pinkett Smith is an actress, and Will Smith is an actor. And those two are married. August Alsina and Jada Pinkett Smith. They had an affair. I don't know if you want to call it an affair. You know, I hate labels. Listen, when it was studying astrology for so long and looking at relationships through astrology, not just by reading data and books, but by real life experiences of my own and journaling them, and other people around me and journaling them. Um, your like energy and your soul and all this stuff that astrology shows doesn't really care about labels. Doesn't give a shit. I said this in my last video. It doesn't give a shit. Like, you know, people are like, well, they were married. Well, you know, that is something here on earth. They signed a piece of paper here on earth. And yes, you know, there's energy tied into that day, and it gets more complicated. I agree. But when you meet people, the energetic exchange that you have between your soul and theirs, that's the soul. The soul lives on even after that contract expires because you got a divorce, or after your body, physical body is no longer here. You know, like your soul lives on. So when you are operating on a soul level, when it comes to a connection with someone, it doesn't really care too much about contracts that we create here on earth, or labels on earth that we create. When you live from your soul, it's different. And for what I see, Will and Jada, they tend to live from their souls a lot. That's why people say they're quote unquote weird. They don't understand them. How come they don't want to label their marriage and say they're in a marriage? And oh my God. Yeah, people here who are more focused on the practical world, not operating so much on a soul level, they don't get it. You know what I'm saying? And why would August Alsina be with a married woman? Oh my God. His soul doesn't give a fuck about that marriage contract, and neither did hers. Apparently. Okay, so anyway, sorry. So, let me show you guys some horoscope stuff of, you know, I watched the Red Table Talk between Jada and Will, and I listened to it a couple times. I've watched a couple people's commentaries. I don't really watch too many people's commentaries. Shout out though to Lovely T. I do catch some of her videos from time to time. If it's something that, you know, happens to grab my attention, I'll watch some of her videos and hear what she has to say, because Lovely T, she shouts out Leo gang all day, but she obviously may not know her full birth chart. She is a Scorpio moon, and Scorpio people, whether you're Scorpio sun, moon, rising, whatever, Mercury, whatever, do their research. Okay, Scorpio people dig. We get intrigued by something, then we have tunnel vision, we get obsessed with it until we find all the answers, including all the hidden answers, okay? And then we quote unquote gather receipts, which is what we say today. You know, Scorpios are all about those receipts. So Lovely T, she gathers a lot of receipts and to come to her conclusions about things. That's why I watch some of her videos. So I did watch her video commentary on this whole thing too. She's pretty comical at times. But I did watch the Red Table Talk. And what was I gonna say? Oh, it was Will and Jada were like, it's just weird how Jada said she hadn't spoken to August in years. So why is all this coming out now? Will's like, yeah, I don't understand. Why is it coming out just now? Well, listen, honey boo boos, okay? Divine timing, what we call divine timing, is shown, we can see that through astrology. Okay, so you know how a lot of people who aren't even really truly into astrology, they will even use the term divine timing, or they will say the stars have aligned, or the planets have aligned for me, or whatever, even though they don't know what the hell they're talking about. Like, technically, um that's true. Those terms are true. That truly does happen. Okay. So divine timing is shown with the current or future or whatever um, alignment of the planets. Okay. So, first of all, let's go back a little bit in time because Jada, she said that she and August, they started their, oh my god, I don't want to use this word because now everybody is jumping on this trend train of using this word that she used, entanglement. Oh my god. Now at first I was like ha ha ha, and now everybody, they made a song out of it and videos. Oh lord, it's just so stupid. The internet is so dumb. Anyway, when she got into her relationship, okay, if you will, with August Alsina, um, she said it was about 4.5 years ago. So if we look back, that would be 2016, right? So what was going on in the planets in 2016 that could have affected all three of these people, August, Jada, and Will? Okay, what do they have in common? They have some Sagittarius in common, okay? Because August Alsina is a Sagittarius moon. The moon, it rules your deepest emotions, your memories that you hold on to of the past and your childhood and how you were raised. And the moon can also rule your mother or your relationship with your mother or maternal figures. It's also how you are nurtured and mothered, and it doesn't. And then for a man, yes, it can show mother stuff, but it can also show wife, traditionally quote unquote wife, or just the feminine energy that a man really feels comforted by. That doesn't necessarily, like that old school term wife, it doesn't have to be a wife, okay? But ideally, if a man decides to snag himself a wifey or life partner, somebody who he shares his life with and builds his life with, it is important and imperative to look at the moon sign of that man, because that's who he can live with the easiest, have the easiest flow with. Okay, so but the moon is your emotions, right? So August is a Sagittarius moon. Let's look at Jada. She's got Neptune and Jupiter in Sagittarius. Interesting. Okay, Neptune is fantasy. It's also associated with addictions to substances. Jupiter is doing things in excess. So Jada, she has struggled with doing things in excess to make herself feel good. Remember, she said that. Neptune, it can rule bliss and ecstasy and euphoria, feelings of euphoria or whatever. Being in a fantasy la la land is Neptune, okay? And Jupiter is like, let's just jump and fly and not think about the consequences. And also, let's do more and more and more and not see limitations. Both of these planets rule not seeing limitations. I'm beginning to wonder, is Jada maybe a Sagittarius rising? Because I see Neptune energy in her eyes. And if you guys don't know what that means, then I'm sorry. I will try to explain. Neptune or Pisces or planets in her 12th house. If you guys know astrology, you know what I'm talking about. Okay. I see that deeply in her eyes. That kind of look like she's always in la la land, I guess. That people who have placements like that, I'm starting to wonder, is she a Sag rising perhaps? I don't know. But anyway, I haven't pinned her rising just yet. But Jada has Neptune and Jupiter in Sagittarius, okay? And then what does Will have in Sagittarius? Does he have anything? Well, not any planets, but they do have Will's birth time that they said they got from a video of him getting his chart done by an Indian astrologer. So I'm sure this is pretty ballpark correct, okay? And based on, he has Gemini ears, okay? There are features that you can see through people's signs and their placements. It seems to be about correct, and he's a joker, like a Gemini. But his 7th house of relationships is in Sagittarius, likely in an early degree of Sagittarius, based on that Indian astrologer's info, okay? So all of these people have something within their early to middle degrees of Sagittarius. So now, 2016, what was cracking? Anything in Sagittarius? Da 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 da. Look what I found, you guys. Saturn was in Sagittarius at that time. What does that mean? Saturn is the planet of restriction, of very hard lessons, of just saying no. Think of, I like to characterize the planets so people can understand the energy of the planet, okay? So Saturn is like those old teachers way back in the day that used to be able to smack your hand with a ruler. um Saturn is like that old teacher that you have, like a balding old dude with glasses who's so stern, and he just takes no, everything is no excuses, no excuses. If you can't turn in your homework assignment, he's going to be scowling at you and asking you why. And if you say, oh well, I didn't have time, or he's going to be like, time, oh my god, you can make time. And he's very strict. Or if you have a strict parent or any elders in your life, family members. Saturn rules the police, the military, you know? So any person in a position of power, the presidents, you know what I'm saying? But those people, they have to enforce the rules, right? Some sort of way. And a lot of them are kind of assholes about it. If you are someone who's rebellious, you are just wilding out there. Saturn's energy is like that officer that's going to grab you and arrest you. Saturn's energy is that parent that's going to snatch you up by your collar and take you in the house and beat your ass, you know, like, what were you doing? And you're on punishment. You're grounded. Saturn grounds you, literally, okay? So anyway, Saturn was in Sagittarius in 2016. Interesting. So what does this mean for these people? So in 2016, that's when August and Jada got together, right? He was having a hard time. He was on drugs. Jupiter was in Virgo also, and Jupiter is the planet of feeling good. Jupiter has to do with that, feeling good, feeling like you're on top of the world, you can achieve anything. It's the planet that rules optimism and faith. But like I said, it's also doing things in excess, right? So to where you just do way too much because you don't really think about the consequences. So you jump and fly, wee, right? So Jupiter was in Virgo, Saturn was in Sagittarius, August is a Virgo, Mercury, Sun, and Jupiter. Interesting. So he was in his Jupiter return, meaning he was he could have. Your Jupiter return is a time of opportunity, yes, but it can also be a time of excess if you don't have great control over that part of yourself, right? So he was doing too much, doing the most in 2016. Jada, didn't she say, I just wanted to feel good? Jada is a Virgo, Mercury, Moon, and Sun, and Pluto, right? So this is important to know because that means Jupiter was hitting all her stuff. She wanted to feel good. She wanted to mentor someone. And you know, I hate, it's not that age doesn't matter. It's like in life at all. Yeah, you do have to have some standards about yourself. Of course, right? And there's just some things that are morally totally just like really now really that's totally wrong with age differences. Like if it's a child, a literal child, a little child, and an adult, of course that is absolutely wrong in any sense, right? But if it's two adults, consenting adults, and there is like a 20-year age gap or something like that, 10-year age gap, I really hate when people just throw it out there. Well, Jada is 100 years old and old enough to be his mother. Who gives a shit, man? Who cares? Like, it really doesn't matter when you have an energy exchange between two adults. It doesn't matter. Trust me, all of that melts away. Your souls recognize each other, like, hey, what's up, it's me, you remember me? It's like, oh yeah, oh shit, it's you, but you're in this body, you're in this shell that is such and such years old, and this name and this title and this gender and this all of that stuff that we really care about here as humans goes away when your souls recognize each other, okay? Because your souls have known each other lifetime after lifetime, chances are. And it could have been maybe the last time she was his teacher as an older man, and he was a student of hers as a younger woman, or vice versa. Like, you know, your souls come back around and play different roles each time. okay? But that core part of you that recognizes the core part of another person, when you get together, that's who recognize each other. That's who's bonding, okay? So just remember that. Anyhow, I digress. The horoscope stuff, right? Okay. So Jupiter was in Virgo, lighting up all her Virgo stellium. And so she said, I just wanted to feel good. I wanted to feel good, right? And he was doing things in excess, okay? August was. Now, let's get back to Saturn. Oh, and Will is also, he's got some stuff in Virgo, doesn't he? It was also Will's Jupiter return. So Will wanted to feel good too. He was doing some Virgo things or whatever. He wanted to, he was trying to live the good life, live his best life, and all of that too at that time, right? But Saturn was squaring Jupiter and Virgo, which means it was challenging it. Stingy old Saturn does the opposite of what Jupiter does. Jupiter is like, yes, it's let me just throw out some gold coins to everybody. Hey, have a good time. Take them to the casino. You know what I'm saying? Go on a vacation. Get away. Who cares about responsibility? That's what Jupiter says. But Saturn is like, responsibilities, y'all. Hello. Don't make me bust out with my paddle or my belts, on that ass for doing too much. Oh, you're having too much fun. It's time to get to work and do some serious stuff. That's the relationship between Saturn and Jupiter that was going on around 2016. So, as Jupiter was transiting over their Virgo stuff, like, hey, let's live it up, Saturn was like, no, let's cancel all of that playtime nonsense and do some serious work. So, August Alsina, Saturn on the moon. Yo, let me tell you guys, when Saturn transits over your moon, meaning Saturn is in the same sign as your moon sign, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sugarcoat. I'm not going to say it's motherfucking Disneyland, because it's not. It is one of the most difficult times in your life. It happens once every 28 to 30 years. Thank goodness. Roughly around that. You know what I'm saying? But it is one of the most difficult times in your life. Here's why. Because they said that August had a lot of mother issues or whatever. And supposedly that's why he turned to Jada. She should have been a mother figure for him at her age. Look, I don't necessarily think he was looking at her like a mother figure and then she just turned it into some sick, twisted thing with who should be her son. No, I think these people were genuinely attracted to one another. Number one, I already told you guys in the last video, Lilith is one of a man's fantasy placements of the fantasy woman. If the man is hetero, his fantasy woman can be shown through Lilith, the type of woman that really just grabs him, turns him on. He just feels like every time he's around her, they should just throw their clothes off right away. That's Lilith, right? He has Lilith in Aquarius, but it's in a conjunction with Saturn, which rules maturity and old age, okay? If you want to just keep it real. Older is Saturn. So he is very attracted, physically, sexually attracted, if you will, to older, more mature women. I saw a podcast where he was interviewed some years ago and he was talking about older women, you know what I'm saying? And he wasn't saying, ew, no, he was like, yes, Lord, okay, to older, more mature women. So people need to cut the bull crap just looking at the surface level data of their ages. Oh my God. No, he's attracted to her, okay? And she was attracted to him too. Let's just leave it at that and stop with the bullshit, okay? So he was very attracted to her. Now, so Saturn on the moon is a time when, yes, if you do have mother issues, they do come out. So he maybe felt like he wasn't nurtured properly by the main woman in his life growing up, which was his mother. So could he have been seeking some of that out through Jada? Possibly, but it doesn't mean it's a sick, twisted thing. A lot of men, when they get actually like married, they're shacked up with a woman for a long ass time, whatever you want to label it as, okay? They don't doesn't the woman usually start playing some of the roles like his mother did? Like Traditionally, I'm talking traditionally, you guys. I'm very non-traditional, just to be honest, okay, personally, but this isn't about me. But traditionally, women will do their husband's laundry. They'll do this for them, that for them. They nurture them and take care of them, right? Do some of the same shit their moms did. Okay? So it's not sick and twisted. Okay? So he probably did have some like emotional things with his upbringing in general that came out when Saturn was hitting his moon. Saturn was hitting his moon like, yo, you need to work on these issues, my G. You need to stop playing around and seriously look at your emotional self, the depths of your emotions and what you could be hiding back there in your subconscious mind, what you stashed back there and tried to act like, oh yeah, it's all good, ha ha ha, and smiling like typical sad shit. And then when Saturn hit, it's like, oh wait, playtime's over, I shouldn't just smile and laugh like nothing, you know. This is some real stuff I really truly really need to address. So he was going through that at that time. And his relationship with his mother at that time probably was difficult in 2016. If I look back at articles and stuff, I'm pretty sure that was the time when around 2016, Saturn was in Sagittarius up until 2018, I believe, from 2015 to 2018, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah. So anyway, Saturn was in Sagittarius during those years. So I'm pretty sure those were probably around the times when he had issues with his family, like trying to extort him and making up stories and, yo, if you don't give us money, we're gonna spill the tea about this and that. Speaking of tea, yo, hold up, I need to take a sip and I'm not editing this. Hold up. Alrighty then. Gotta take care of the voice as a Taurus, okay? But anyway, his family was trying to extort him. He had issues with his mother publicly. Um, if there's some healing that needs to be done with your emotional self, with your upbringing, with your mother, Saturn on the moon is definitely a time where those things will come up with, and you cannot run from them. Sag likes to run, but you can't run, you can't hide from stuff like that. Now, what was Saturn and Sagittarius doing for Jada Pinkett? Excuse me, for Jada Pinkett Smith. Well, it did hit her Neptune and Jupiter already by the time she had supposedly started like chilling with August. So, you know, we won't really go there with that. But it was teaching her stuff about doing things in excess, addictions, yada yada yada. But Saturn was also making a square aspect to her moon and then her sun, you know. It was making these challenging aspects to her Virgo stuff pretty much. Okay. So she was being, and it was her Saturn opposition. A Saturn opposition is a time that you go through once every, let's see, what's half of 28, 14, so roughly around once every 14 years, to where you feel like challenged by authority or responsibility. And this could be an internal struggle, or this can manifest outside of yourself by maybe other people playing the role of Saturn, telling you no, you can, and trying to restrict you and just be fun snatchers, man. And you're just rebelling against that, but you keep constantly getting slammed back down to face reality and responsibility. So, roughly once every not 14, not once every 14 years, but it's like when you're 14, and then when you're 28 you go through your Saturn return. And then what's 28 plus 14? This is hella early, y'all. For me. So what is that, like 28 plus 14, so it's like in your early 40s, right? In your early 40s you go through a Saturn opposition again. And it is kind of like another childhood thing, like you're rebelling against responsibility. That's another transit to where there's a high divorce rate at that age, which I'll do another video on at another time. But it was her Saturn opposition, you know what I'm saying? So she was being challenged. Now with Will, Saturn in Sagittarius, that was hitting his seventh house of relationships and marriage, right? So let me just tell you guys something. Saturn is a okay? When it comes to challenging relationships, yo, for real. Check this out. Saturn entered Sagittarius in 2016. That means his house of marriage was being heavily challenged. Whenever anybody has this going on, they're married, or they're in a long-term relationship, or you're with somebody, attached to somebody. This can be one of the most difficult and challenging times for that union, because you're going to be tested. The strength of that union, the structure, the foundation of it is going to be tested. Now, I have seen people go through divorces, go through separations, go through breakups during this period. And actually, I experienced that too in my first quote unquote marriage like relationship, or whatever, long-term relationship as a young person. I was with somebody for 5 years. My high school boyfriend. We were together 5 years. And then Saturn hit my seventh house, and also his too, because he was the same rising sign as me. And it's like, I was like, I don't know why all of a sudden he flipped a switch and now he's becoming so controlling, and he wants to know, we used to be able to just go out with our friends separately and party. And now all of a sudden he's like, no, and he's jealous and he's this. I didn't understand why all of a sudden, but that's because Saturn hit both of our seventh houses. So we broke up during that time. Okay. Will said he was done with Jada during the time that Saturn was in his seventh house. So he was going through some things too. Now, check it. Saturn currently, just jumping ahead a little bit, Saturn is in Capricorn, has been in Capricorn since the end of, was 2018, 2017, 2018. But Saturn in Capricorn has been hitting that eighth house of his, which has to do with intimate bonds, meaning in regular layman's terms, when you join forces with somebody financially, you put your bank account, you have a joint bank account all of a sudden. Not all of a sudden, but when you're with somebody and it's like, let's join our finances, let's have a joint bank account, let's sign some leases, or mortgages, or car notes with both of our names on it, that type of stuff. And also, it is intimacy, like how close are you physically, and do you have conversations that are deep and look into each other's eyes and know each other's secrets and fears. That's the eighth house when it comes to relationships. So Saturn has been hanging out in there for Will for a couple of years now too. Okay, so this is probably why they decided to stop saying that they're quote unquote married and start just calling it a life partnership. I bet you Saturn was challenging Will and Jada at that time too. Saturn can break apart marriages, because if the foundation wasn't sturdy from the get-go, he will break that foundation down and be like, nope, sorry, y'all. And he will snatch it away. Saturn can be ruthless, let me tell you. It's just a part of life, though. So anyway, that was going on in 2016. Okay. Now, so that's why that relationship all these relationships were what they were during that time. And then, once Saturn got out of Sagittarius, I think, what were they together? Like a couple years, Jada and August, they were dealing with each other for a couple years or something like that. And it was during Saturn and Sag. Will was separating himself. That's probably around the time they were like, yo, we're going to be at separate ends of the house and yada yada, because Saturn is that separating energy. Okay. And it was challenging Jada's Virgo stuff, her moon, which rules your home. So she was like, damn, whatever, I'm not comfortable here, whatever, we're separated. Okay. So that's what was going on for them back then. Now, let's talk about why. Why is all of this stuff going on now? Like they said in their Red Table Talk, it's just so weird that now all of a sudden, of course it's weird, because when you look at your own clock, calendar, whatever, watch, and you say, that was a long time ago, I just don't understand. This personal clock of yours, and of everybody has their own personal clock. Your birth chart, where the planets were aligned at your moment of birth, is your personal clock. So I joke with people that I know personally, and they don't always know like all my nerdy astrological terms, and I try to put things more into layman's terms. I tell them they're like, why is it so difficult right now for blah blah? And I said, well, because according to your horoscope, according to the movement of the planets right now, it's get a job o'clock. Like I was telling my son the other day, because he's like, having a little struggle in that department, and I said, no, it's not. It's not passive income o'clock for you right now, son. It is job o'clock. Okay, you got Mars happening in your second house. It's job o'clock. So that can help people to understand more in layman's terms. So right now in 2020, what's cracking? Well, Saturn is in Capricorn. Um Hitting up August. Saturn, let's see. Hold on, let me jump. Okay. So look, you guys, we have Jupiter. Well, Saturn has been in Aquarius too, which I'll touch on in a second. We got Jupiter, we've got Pluto, and we've had Saturn all in Capricorn in 2020, and then dipping into Aquarius. So where is that for these people? Well, I don't know Jada's birth time. Okay, I don't know August's birth time, but yo, he's got some heavy water in his chart, you guys. Like heavy water energy, water ascendant, or planets and water houses in his chart to be so deeply emotional and soulful. Yes, indeed. But anyway, so Capricorn, he has planets in Capricorn. They must rule something for him in his chart that has to do with, like, emotional stuff or something. But anyway, Uranus and Neptune, this is your creativity. It rules a lot of things, but yeah. So Saturn has been hovering over a couple of these planets, right? I don't want to speak too much on it because, once again, I don't know what they rule in his chart. It can mean a lot of things. But Saturn has been in Capricorn. Jada has nothing in Capricorn. Will has nothing in Capricorn, but we know his birth time, I think, right? So his 8th house, like I said, is in Capricorn. So he's having to, you know what? Yeah, that Saturn is challenging them right now. But also we've had eclipses in Capricorn. Okay, eclipses in Cancer and Capricorn. Yeah, so nothing anywhere that we know of for any of those people that it really matters, but except for Will, right? So those eclipses were breaking open Will's 8th house of joining forces in a marriage, if you will, with, sharing assets, finances, and your whole entire selves and your soul with somebody, right? So these eclipses have been breaking it open for Will. Now, the eclipses just shifted into the Sagittarius and Gemini axis also in 2020. What does that mean? See, let's take a look at something here. Oh, also, I forgot. Going back in time a little bit. Forgive me, y'all. Uranus is hitting my Mercury, so I'm just, woo, at times. A little all over the place, okay? So anyway, back in 2015, 2016, 2017, look, this time, during this period, there were eclipses happening on the Pisces Virgo axis, right? So there was an eclipse in Virgo, Pisces, Libra. What do all those people have in common? They do have Virgo and Libra stuff. I don't know about Pisces, but they have, Virgo and Libra planets. Look at this. Lunar eclipse 2016. 3 degrees of Libra. That's right on August's Venus. 3 degrees of Libra 2016. Jada Pinkett. Venus, 1 degree of Libra. Her Lilith, too. Lord have mercy. I told you guys about Lilith and her scandalous ass. Okay, what she does for you. Eclipse on her Lilith. Will, what does he have in Libra? Where's he at? His sun, 3 degrees of Libra. Eclipse on the sun. That can do something for you as far as relationships, especially if it's a lunar eclipse. All right. So let me go back here. Yeah. So it's important to look at eclipses when you all of a sudden this is popping up and I don't know why. Look at eclipses, y'all. Okay. So yeah, Virgo. Libra eclipses, Virgo, another Virgo eclipse, a lunar eclipse in Pisces, which includes the sun in Virgo at 24 degrees. I know I'm getting super nerdy with you guys. I hope you're following along, but look at Will has something in the 20 something degrees of Virgo zone. So does Jada, her sun, possibly her moon in that zone too. We don't know her birth time. August, he has stuff hanging around that degree in Virgo. So you have to look at eclipses too. Eclipses break open parts of your life and yourself that maybe you've kept hidden away or you haven't dealt with. Eclipses are like earthquakes that happen in specific parts of your chart, okay, but of your meaning of your life and of yourself, of your personality. So depending upon where they land and if they land on a planet, what does that planet rule for you and everything? That's how you can see when crazy things will happen that are out of the ordinary, outside the norm. I don't know why this just popped up, right? So, and also eclipses bring about fated events and fated meetings with people all the time. So eclipses, if you want to look at marriage and divorce and or significant relationships, whatever you want to label that shit as, look at eclipse cycles. They will tell a lot. So whenever people they come to me and they're like, "Oh, will I ever get married?" or I've been single for a long time," I will one of the first things I will look at if they want me to see a probable time frame for when they could meet somebody who's significant or get married or, throw some title on it or whatever. I look at eclipses. Are eclipses hitting your sun and the opposite sign of your sun sign? Are they hitting your rising, your ascendant, if you know it, and the opposite sign of it? That's or your eighth house or your fifth house, just to get more technical and nerdy. But you have to look at eclipses. They will tell a lot. So they can show breakups, makeups, um, separations for whatever you want to call them, separation, breakup, divorce. Okay, so there were eclipses happening in Will's sun sign, in Jada's sun sign, in August sun sign, and also on the Venus of these people too. And Venus can rule relationships. Okay, so this was popping at that time. And then I guess, they separated or whatever after a couple years, yada, yada, yada. And then there was eclipses that started happening in Aquarius. Look at this. Lunar eclipse, August 7th, 2017, 15 degrees of Aquarius. Where is that in August Alsina's chart? That's on his Saturn. That's on his Lilith. So obviously that could have sparked the separation of a Lilith type relationship for him, which definitely was Jada. Okay, and on his Saturn, which can rule hard lessons in life, right? Jada, look that's on her north node and her south node, which are it rules karma in this lifetime and also past life karma, your soul's journey, your destiny, your soul's purpose. That eclipse happened right on this point, which it's absent on this website. It still pisses me off. But right on these points for her. So some very karmic meeting or separation of some sort of bond with somebody happened for her during that time, right? Eclipses are a motherfucker too, okay? So this is just to show you guys that. And then the eclipses continue to happen and other signs that, whatever didn't really affect their relationship stuff that much. She said it's been ages. It's been a couple years. We haven't talked. Og went on with his life or whatever. Maybe, I don't know his birth time. So some of these eclipses that continue throughout the years could have been hitting some other things for him. We don't know. But why in 2020, all of a sudden, this is just, I don't know why. It's been so many years. Oh my God. Well, when did August started coming out with the tea? Spilling it. In June of 2020. What was cracking? Look at the eclipse. June 5th, 15 degrees of Sagittarius. Okay. Where was that for all of these people? Well, for August, it was likely on his moon. This is a generic. We don't know the degree of his moon because we don't know what time he was born, but still, it was within the range of his moon, which is once again emotions, deep emotions, emotional issues. If you have issues with feminine people in your life, whether it's mother, wife, girlfriend, whatever, the moon rules all of that, being nurtured, okay, which is a feminine ting, right? So an eclipse happened on his moon. It broke open the emotions that he had been hiding and stashing away probably for a long time. He said it was probably eating him alive, starting to catch up to him again, okay? And so he just had to get it all out. Eclipses on the moon, Saturn on the moon, those are times where you really, really, two of several times in your life where you really need a lot of therapy. I'm not bullshitting you guys. Those are times where you need a lot of therapy, especially if you've been through a lot, okay? Even if you haven't, still, it's important. And also, what else is cracking? Saturn was in Sagittarius. I mean, Saturn was in Aquarius now. So, hold up. Wait. So we have an eclipse in Sag. Now if we let me teach you guys another little nerd method here, astrology nerd method. We don't have Jada's birth time, right? But when you don't have someone's birth time, you can do what's called a solar chart, meaning you look at their sun sign. Okay, everybody knows their sun sign. Hey, Team Leo, I was born in August. Team Virgo, whatever. You look at that. You take the sun and you treat that as the person's, like the same as you would treat their rising sign if you knew it, and you look at the houses, quote unquote. Okay, so where's Sagittarius from Virgo? It's counting Virgo first. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's the fourth house. The fourth house is emotions, family, your household, all this, your childhood, deep emotional connection to childhood and upbringing. Same stuff that the moon rules. So it happens, the eclipse in Sag happened fourth house from the moon, fourth house from the sun in her chart as well. Double fourth house. So emotional stuff is being broken open by the eclipse in Sag for Jada as well, if we want to take a look at it from her moon and her sun. For Will, da 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 da, once again, his seventh house of marriage is being hit by some heavy hitting planetary transit. This time it is eclipses. So an eclipse, there's been eclipses in the 8th, eclipse in the 7th. So what do I think about this going forward? I think that this is definitely a world rocking, this is like an earthquake opening up that 7th house of marriage for Will once again. It's a challenge. I do think and because there's going to continue to be eclipses in Sagittarius, okay, and Gemini in 2020, and look, 2021 is the last one. And then Will has the moon, which rules your emotional well-being, but also the security and stability of your home base. And for men who are married, it can rule, your wife or whatever. He has it in Scorpio. Guess what? The eclipse cycle is going to continue to hit Will. It's going to continue to hit home and his relationship with Jada when the years progress and the eclipse cycle progresses into Scorpio as well. It's going to hit his moon. You know what I'm saying? So this is going to, I wish I knew the other two's birth times, but just based on Will's chart, he and Jada's union is going to continue to be challenged over the next couple of years. Big time. Big time. And then he's a Libra sun. Will can't get a break. Like having a lineup in all of major stuff and all these signs right next to each other. It's like when you go through some things, you go through some things, and it's like it's several years long, it seems, So those people that seem like, oh, I can't ever catch a break, one year after the other is this, that, look and see how things are lined up. Do you have stuff lined up close together in your birth chart? Because if you do, then that's why. Planets will progress through the signs and keep hitting all your shit. Eclipses will go through the signs and keep hitting all your shit. One after, oops, my bad. No, stop. Hello? Oh my God, I hate this. Okay. Anyway, that's why. Some people have their lives are just set up like that, and the timing of life events just happen like that. But the 7th house of marriage is being hit now by the eclipses over the next couple years. So do I like to predict divorce and death and this and that? Nah, I don't like to predict it. But I can say that his marriage is going to continue to be challenged. His ability to hang on to this marriage and call it a life journey or whatever they want to call it, or whatever, like life partnership, whatever you want to label it as, Will and Jada, it's going to continue to be challenged. And this is just the first hit, because this is the first eclipse in Sagittarius that's going to happen over the next couple years. So every time an eclipse hits, bam, the first one, oh my God, this is a shock. Just like a freaking, oh, this is a minor earthquake. And then, bam, the next one hits. And it's like, oh my God, we've barely even recovered from the first one. How are we going to recover from this? So it continues on and on throughout the next, couple of years or whatever. So do I think they're going to get a divorce? I can't say that because of free will. I mean, no pun intended, but free will and fate go hand in hand. Free will and astrology go hand in hand. All I can say is, if they can't pass the test that these eclipses are bringing, you never know. And also, I'm going to be a nerd and point out that Will's midheaven, which is the point of your public image in your career, Saturn in that sign is going to present a huge challenge to Will's career over the next couple of years, with it being in Aquarius. And his public image and social status, they also say, in some forms of astrology, they say the 10th house can represent your marital status. Like, does the public know you as engaged, as married, as separated, as life partnership, as entanglement, as what do they know you as with your relationship? So that can be challenged, shown by Saturn and Saturn and Aquarius, my bad, as well. So career and marriage can be presented with huge challenges from Saturn as well over the next couple years for Will. So if they can hold it together, they can hold it together. They have a very strong soul bond as well, which I showed you guys in the last video. So, I mean, only time will tell, okay? But, yeah. So what is Saturn in Aquarius doing for Jada? Well, it's approaching her Mars. I don't know what house Mars rules in her chart, to really pinpoint what it can mean, but it's going to approach her North Node, which is karma, destiny, fate, and soul purpose, and a lot of soulful stuff, So Saturn sitting on your North Node is kind of difficult. It can make you question what is your purpose and your place in life, and also relationships where you have a lot of karma with that person. It can challenge those too, okay, and make you take a second look at those bonds with people. So her career and her life purpose, she's going to be questioning it at the same time as Will, because they are apparently at the same degree in Aquarius. And then we look at August. Poor Og. I love Og. I just want to give him a big hug and read his chart for him. I say that all the time. But Og also has his own Saturn in Aquarius, and he has Lilith at the fourth. I don't know if I pointed this out last time, but Lilith, that's the vixen, the Jezebel, and all of that, And then if it's at the same degree as Will's midheaven, which is his public image, yes, that is very telling. This chart is probably correct, okay? That means he's a Jezebel for Will publicly. The astrology is crazy, doesn't lie. But Saturn is in Aquarius. This is August Saturn return. Everybody goes through this around like 27, 28. Sometimes it can start like around 26. You can start feeling it creeping up on you. Between 26 and 30, let's just say roughly, okay? Everybody goes through that time, and it's a time of great maturity. It's when you really become, quote unquote, an adult, like adulting hardcore. You start to look at yourself and your career and every aspect of your life, and you really break down. You're like, what am I doing here on this earth? Oh my God. Like Saturn return, when Saturn comes back around to your Saturn sign, is that time. That's why there's that 27 club, unfortunately, with celebrities, because it's like Big Daddy Saturn comes back around, and he's like, I gave you an assignment. I gave you some homework to do. Have you been doing it while I was away? And you're just sitting there all googly eyed, like, no, yeah, sure, I have Papa Saturn. And he's like, well, I'm going to check. And he checks your ass on, oh, what, you didn't do this? Bam, you know, smack in the face. You didn't do this? Bam, punch in the chest, you know? And you're like, oh my God, why is life knocking me down like this? And that can mean, in it depends on what area of your chart and area of life it lands in. So for August, obviously, it's hitting some emotional stuff, um, as well as his moon is being hit by eclipses. Yo, this guy, man, and it's his reverse nodal return. Oh my God, that's another thing. I know I'm speaking all this jargon and lingo, and some people will probably have tuned me out by now because they don't know what the hell I'm talking about. But I still just wanted to point out, us horoscopes are complicated, right? They're not what you thought. You know what I'm saying? They're not what you thought. There's a lot to look at. But there's stuff popping in Sag over the next couple of years. It started with June of 2020 when all of this all of a sudden popped up out of nowhere, right? This is a very karmic time for August. A lot of karma is coming back to him. A lot of emotions, a lot of everything is coming back to him. And he's trying to liberate himself and get it all out. And this is Saturn return, which he is maturing in a lot of ways too. So he just wants to get the past all out, get the pain dealt with. You know, he's being forced to. Saturn return is, you know, it's going to be interesting to see what he does with this time period over the next couple of years. I hope he handles it well. I hope he stays healthy, and I hope he comes out of it with some dope ass albums or something, maybe some other dope projects, you know, to express um himself and what he's been through and relate to people and yada yada yada. But anyway, yeah, so I just wanted to show you guys why. Oh my God, I just don't understand. Yeah, divine timing is a mofo, isn't it? There's so much to it. There's so many things to look at, but your birth chart, the alignment of the planets when you were born, I repeat, it is your own personal clock. So when the planets come back around and align with your shit, that it's something o'clock for you, which it could be if you share some of the same, you know, something in the same sign around the same degree as someone else. It could be something o'clock for them too. You know what I'm saying? All at the same time, but it can mean different things for different people. But regardless, it's your own personal clock. So that's what you should follow. That's what you should look at. Not, I don't understand, but they're married. You just don't do that when you're married. Yo. Astrology doesn't lie, and the planets don't give a fuck, and neither does your soul. Okay? All right. So the contracts here on Earth, the labels here on Earth, they matter, but at the same time, when you got some heavy hitting stuff in your horoscope, they don't matter. So I'm going to leave that and close out. And I hope you guys are able to follow along and understand. If you weren't, feel free to ask questions below in the comments, and I'll get to them whenever I can, or whatever. If you have anything that I didn't see or point out that you saw, like, you know, drop it down below also. But anyway, astrology is a great learning tool, and I'm not just trying to do exposing the tea and all this stuff with people. No, using real life examples that we see in the public eye so much to teach you guys how astrology really truly works. It is amazing. It can be kind of scary. There's some shit I just don't like to look at. But it is really a really dope tool to help you understand the timing of life. So peace out, you guys. Check out the first video if you haven't, and I will see you in the next one.